Today's lesson is on system of equations. This is a three-part lesson, and today we'll introduce you to system of equations and solving by graphing. What is a system of equations? Here's one equation. Here's another equation, and together there is a system of equations. What does it mean to solve a system of equations? It means finding where the lines meet. And how can we find where they meet? There are three methods. Graph the lines and see where they meet. The second method, which will be introduced later, is substitution. And the third method is elimination. Some people call it combination. Let's talk about solving by graphing. Step 1. Change both equations to slope-intercept form. Here are the two equations that you saw earlier. On the first equation, we want to do y equals mx plus b, so we would have to subtract x from both sides. And the second equation, we would have to add 2x to both sides. And once we do that, we have the y equals mx plus b form, otherwise known as the slope-intercept form. Step 2 is to graph y equals negative x plus 5. You start with the 5 on the y-axis. You go down 1 over 1, and here is your graph. Step 3 is to graph y equals 2x minus 4 on the same graph. You start at negative 4, you go up 2 over 1, and there's your line. Find where they meet. 3, 2. This will be your solution to the system of equations. Now you try. Solve by graphing. Step 1. Change both equations to slope-intercept form. Now here's two different equations. Go ahead and think to yourself what you would do to the first equation and what you would do to the second equation. Okay, did you say subtract 3x from both sides and add x to both sides on the second equation? That is correct. Now you have y equals negative 3x plus 2 and y equals x minus 2. Step 2 and 3 are to graph these two lines, and step 4 is to find where they meet. Okay, so let's graph the blue line. Y is equal to negative 3x plus 2. Where do you start? Did you say start with 2? If you did, that's great. So you start with 2, that will be your y-intercept. So go ahead and plot that point. Okay, there it should be. Now, what do you do from there? Look at the slope. What is the slope? Negative 3. So what does that mean? Starting from that blue dot, where do I go? Down 3 over 1. There you go. Now you just connect the dots and you have your first line. Great. Now let's try graphing the second line. Y is equal to x minus 2. Where do you start? Negative 2. Great. Now where do we plot that negative 2? On the y-axis. Go ahead and point your finger towards it. There you go. Alright, so now what is the slope? There's no number in front of the x, so there's an invisible 1, and so the slope is 1. That means go where? From the red dot, you will go up 1 over 1. There you go. And connect the dots, and you have your second line. Remember step 4? Where do they meet? Okay, so what is that coordinate point? -1. Excellent. Good job. That concludes today's lesson.